Hey everyone. So I want to talk some about Jesus among the Romans. And we all know that Jesus was a Jew, yes, and he's living under Roman occupation. And as we discussed previously, the Jews were furious at Roman occupation. And, having had this brief reign of self-rule, right, after hundreds of years of other people being the boss of them. Well, Jesus was no exception. And uh, once again, I'm going to ask you to sincerely try to see this with new eyes because it's so much more interesting than you've been told. And it's kind of weird and it's fascinating. All right. So we've got 2,000 years of accretion of just explaining away things in the New Testament. So there are a couple of things I'd like to go over, and we're going to try to see them from the perspective of a first century Jew. And that's exactly whom Jesus was preaching to, right? He says over and over again, I'm not here for anyone else. This is a reform movement of Judaism. All right, so two things. Number one, let's start with a parable. Now, my favorite parable, and trust me, you can do this to just about all of them, is that, so there's this guy who owns a vineyard, and he goes to the Agora, which is like, it's the town square where you'd go to like hire day laborers every day, right? And he hires this guy, and he, it's like 5 a.m. or something, and the guy works all day at the vineyard. And then number two, he goes out at like 10 a.m., hires another guy, 2 p.m., hires another guy, 5 p.m., hires another guy. And then at, 7 o'clock, he gives them all the exact same amount of money. And this has been explained, right, as in Christianity, well, it doesn't matter when you get on the raft, as long as you're there, you're good, right? You're getting into heaven. That's not at all how it would have been heard in the first century. So, where is Jesus preaching? Jerusalem. When is he preaching? During Passover. There are Roman soldiers on every corner. Right? The Jews are constantly under surveillance. And it's hot in Israel, right? And during Passover, the population of Judaism swells to 10,000. Right, and that it's built for like 1,000, so it is beyond cramped, and it's hot, and your oppressors are everywhere, right? So Jesus talks in these parables as a way to get around, being edited, right? This is it's a sneaky form of speech to say one thing, but everyone in your audience would know this is a criticism, but the Roman over there wouldn't know, so he wouldn't come beat you up, right? So let's think about that parable from the perspective of a first century Jew. Number one, who owns vineyards? Well, rich people. It takes 7 years for vineyards to produce, right? So you've got to be able to spend 7 years making no money. Who can do this? Well, basically the Romans, right? There aren't that many Jews that have that much money. And if you do, then you're probably like a Roman collaborator, right? Something's wrong with you. So let's think about that. So like some rich guy, a Roman guy, goes out and he hires, little Jewish guy number one, some crazy hour of the morning, and then little Jewish guy number two, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then he gives them all the same amount of money. And the people in the story actually are like, what are you doing? He's like, it's my money. I'll do what I want with it. And that's his response. And we've interpreted that to see him as the good guy, right? But they wouldn't have seen that as the good guy, right? They'd see that as a denigration of their labor. So why does the guy who worked 12 hours get paid the same amount as the guy who worked 1 hour? That's not fair. So think about your classes. And be honest with yourself, right? Some of you, like, just break your backs doing everything, right? You do all the readings, you work hard on the exams, you talk every class, you do this, you do that. Well, and then there are people who don't. And that's your prerogative. I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying, right? There are people who don't. Think about any of your classes. So at the end of the semester, your professor says, I've decided to give you all A's, including those of you who just never showed up. Wouldn't those of you who, like, busted your humps to get A's be pissed? I think you would. Okay, so tons of Jesus' parables look completely different when you try to read them in the context of Judaism among the Romans. Okay, number 2, we're going to go on to my favorite story of madness. Lots of madness in the New Testament. Love it. So this one is Legion. And so Jesus is wandering around the Galilee somewhere, and there's a crazy guy who's naked and he's chained to a tomb. And he has all these demons in him. Right? And Jesus comes up and says to the guy, "What's your name?" Right? And he seems to be talking to the demons. And the demon says, "My name is Legion, for we are many." All right. The New Testament is written in Greek. And there's no word for legion in Greek. What do you think of when you think of legion? Well, a couple of you are pinging on the Roman army, and that would be correct. A Roman army is a legion. And because there's no word for it in Greek, it's actually spelled out phonetically. My name is Legion. And remember what Jesus does here, right? He takes the unclean spirits and he drives them into pigs. And then he sends the pigs to the bottom of the lake where they all drown. Who has pigs in Israel? It ain't the Jews, right? So let's go over this story. It's like, "Hi, crazy person. What's your name?" "My name is the Roman army." "Really? Well, by the power invested in me, I'm going to drown you all. And I'm going to do it in an unclean animal, which you shouldn't have in my country to begin with, you icky Romans. And so not only am I going to drown the Roman army, but the guy whose pigs I'm drowning, he's going to lose a lot of money." My name is Legion. Completely different story. All right, I'll see you soon.